And then there were two, South Carolina and Iowa. In this video, we are going to break down this matchup, which will include going down degenerate corner and taking a look at what Vegas says in terms of the odds and overs and all that good stuff. But then we will do a deep dive on the matchups as well as talking about how this is a legacy game for both teams. But before we start, if you like the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. We are trying to get to 10K subscriber. Your subscription would be greatly appreciated. All right, let's get into this. So let's first take a trip down to degenerate corner, as this seems fitting, as this will be the most bet on game in women's college basketball history. And if you go to your preferred provider, there are a gaggle of prop bets from player, point, over, unders, and everything, but I'm just going to stick to the basics here. So Iowa is a 6.5 underdog. The over-under for the game is 160.5. The money line for Iowa is plus 225. And for South Carolina, it is minus 278. The evil computer predicts that South Carolina will win 79-74 over Iowa, but hey, Iowa fans, take solace as that same computer picked UConn to beat you last night, 76-74. So you still have a chance. So settle down your celebration, South Carolina. As well, not to give you PTSD, but I would be remiss in not pointing out that Carolina was an 11.5 favorite last year in their matchup and was minus 800. Iowa was paying plus 575, and obviously they got it done as well. A word of a warning, South Carolina fans, be prepared, because pregame you are going to see over and over again Caitlin Clark celebrating the Iowa locker room celebration over and over again. And in truth, I feel your pain, because in my dark, distant past, I was a Houston Oiler fan before those traitors left and went to Nashville, Tennessee. But prior to that, I was a diehard Oilers fan. And as we all know, the Oilers were up 35-3 on the Buffalo Bills and choked the game away. How do we all know it? Because if there's any playoff game blowout going on, they will simply replay it to you. Or if that's not bad enough, the Texans can be winning a game by a lot and they'll say, well, these Houston fans know what can happen and how it can happen quickly. And then they'll show the replay team, even though that damn team's not in Houston anymore. So I do feel your pain, but one thing you have over me is you have a chance at redemption. Yes, this is a legacy game and a chance for South Carolina to get even. And yes, I know in the press conferences, they'll say it's not about revenge. It's just about playing our game and it's different teams. Just like Caitlin Clark said in her press conferences against LSU. But have no doubt, Iowa thoroughly enjoyed serving a dish of revenge nice and cold to LSU. And that is what South Carolina will be looking to do to Iowa in the championship game. And in a lot of ways, South Carolina desperately needs to win this game. I know they feel like they're ahead of schedule, as they were only started out in the preseason rankings at number 8, and they're an extremely young team. And if they lost, you would understand why, because of that youth. But at the same time, you cannot go 2 seasons in a row undefeated during the regular season and not win the national championship. Because if you do that, then it makes next season, regardless of what you do, you could go undefeated again, but people will say, yeah, but they can't get it done in the tournament. They're not a tournament tough team. The way they play just makes them a good regular season team. Not true, but that's what the narrative will be. And it will drive South Carolina and their fans crazy next year if they lose the national championship game again. Now for Iowa, this is Caitlin Clark's legacy game, a chance for her to put a cherry on the top of her storied career at Iowa. In my preseason video of Iowa, I compared them to my former Houston Cougars, who lost in devastating fashion to NC State, and that was our moment to get it done, as we had both Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon, and after that season, Clyde went into the draft, and Hakeem didn't have enough to get it done. In much the same way, I thought Iowa would struggle with the loss of Cesano and Warneke. but yet here they are with another chance to win the championship. So as I said before, it's a legacy game. Can Caitlin Clark get it done in the championship game? But as well, has Dawn Staley learned from her history? And those that don't are doomed to repeat it, but it looks like she has, as she got herself some shooters compared to last year, where Iowa essentially dared them to shoot from outside and they could not get it done, as they went 20% from the three-point line, going 4 for 20 as well. They shot 39% from the floor. This was all symbolized by Caitlin Clark doing the famous wave off of Raven Johnson. She's talked about it and how it almost destroyed her, as it was the ultimate sign of disrespect for her outside shot. Funny enough, in that game, Raven Johnson was actually one of their better outside shooters. She went 5 for 11 and was 3 for 6 from the three-point line. But this issue has been addressed by Dawn Staley. Last year, they shot 31% from the three-point line, 173rd in the country. This year, they have improved it just slightly at 39% and currently 3rd in the country in three-point shooting percentage. Thank you, Tahina Powpow. And that is the thing that will give South Carolina fan confidence, as last year, even when they shot 39% from the floor and 20% from the three-point line, they only lost by 4 points, 77-73. And this year, when they shoot poorly, the game can be tight, but if they shoot well from the three-point line, then they blow teams out. But even with all that said, Iowa is still a scary team for South Carolina, because they have the 4 shooters that Caitlin Clark is a mastermind to get the ball. So she has the ball in her hand. If she has the slightest opening, then she can throw up the shot and hit the three-pointer, even if contested. But then if you try to double, then she can throw it to Gabby Marshall, who shoots 36%, Falter, who shoots 40%, or Kate Martin, who shoots 37% from 3. And they are quite comfortable getting into an offensive slugfest with teams much like the San Diego Chargers of the late 70s. Their best defense is their offense is unbelievably good and puts pressure on you to score as well. What'll be fun to watch in this game is Dawn Staley and how she uses the various parts that she has. She has a whole bunch of toys. Camila Cardoso was a nightmare last year for Iowa, going for 14 points on 7 of 9 shooting, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks. She was just an overall menace during that game. But if she gets in foul trouble, they will be very comfortable putting Ashlyn Watkins on Stolke. That's a fine matchup for them. And that gets Chloe Kitts on the floor, or they can go small with a variety. They could have Bree Hall and Tessa Johnson on the court at the same time and do switch-ups to allow they always have a big body on Caitlin Clark or a big guard. Or then it's a big game. You never know if Full Wiley will go off. It seems like she's better in the big moments and when the lights come on. So it seems like South Carolina is a 6.5 favorite for a good reason. But then again, I'm the guy last year in this video that told you need to get on South Carolina as an 11.5 favorite, as it was a done deal. Enjoy the game. Hopefully it's a good one.